Alright, welcome to another video here. We are done with the rookie games, so moving into the inter semi-finals here. And at the bottom of the map here are the yellow Wookiees, hailing from Brazil. We have the mighty Neymar, which is Yoda. And from the main streets located somewhere between Scunny and Donny, we have RiSk here in the purple Wookiees. And the map is this fucking Kashyyyk? Cramped? Oh. Kinda looks like it. Many trees, not a lot of space. Pretty much your sort of Black Forest looking thing from Age of Empires, except there just seems to be hills everywhere. Who the hell selected this? This is a terrible, terrible map. Look at it. Oh, it's awful. Was this like the predetermined horrible cancer map? What these ponds? One fish. Just one fish. Only one. It's shocking. And with all this carbon, this is the best carbon you can get here. Oh, it doesn't look better anywhere else. What a horrible map. Well, best of luck to both of them enduring this. This is the kind of map that, even when you know it's coming, you probably don't even want to practice on. Is there any food? One Cadu and one fish. Oh, there's another fish. Two fish and a Cadu. Wait, there's nerfs? Where are the nerfs? Oh, there's tons of nerfs. How have these snuck by me? 12? Where's this last four? Kind of hidden over here. It looks like they're both getting bamboozled because they're discussing that they've only found 12. I'm not sure about this one, Yoda. That is a long, long distance to get that 100 food. Probably better to just eat a nerf during all this. Maybe a second. Just until you've got your farm production stabilised. And then that takes over. Then you can maybe get away with eating like 2 or 3 of the nerfs or something like that. You can technically kind of get like production going. I guess you could bite the bullet and just like tank the idle CC for a bit. It looks like Yoda just wants to go straight into like a Mountie rush here. And it's gonna really hurt his worker count though. I guess he's got the little bit of extra food that he's gotten from this. I can't believe they've walked back, because... How much are they getting? That's not bad. I would have thought that they'd wiped that Cadu. Oh, he had 2 Cadus. That's unethical. RiSk's only got 1 Cadu. So he can rally some bounties, and with the 200 food buffer from the Cadus, he can keep the CC production going a little bit. And the way that this should work out is just that there's like 1 or 2 Mounties being really annoying. But RiSk will have a lead in sort of like getting the farm production up and then getting to T2. So it's really about how much damage these Mounties can do. Because there's not going to be a power core with them because you just can't afford it. You see he has to go food processor now and he has to start his farms. But he will have the benefit of not being harassed by a Mountie. And it'll prove a little bit more effective here because the workers are biological and they can't repair. So ones that get low will have to run away, but we'll see how well this works out in terms of the damage that it can do. I can only really get 2 because of the Nova constraints. Queue those workers up. There we go. So let's see how the Mountie does. It's on its way here. Just building a very annoying troop center. I don't know how he's walking through that. Like RiSk's buildings have just got no, what's the word, substance to them. You just walk through them. It's going to bash it down with the workers here. And I mean, if he just runs away and he keeps chasing them like that, he's going to get a good amount of value out of it. He doesn't want his workers being idle. But he maybe wants it dead before there's a second Mountie. I mean, his health does go down, but it's just like, all these workers are just idle. Oh, it sucks. But, imagine providing he's not losing workers to it, it'll feel a bit better. He brings a scout back to assist. And that Mountie goes down. So this shouldn't really feel too bad now, because he has got a trooper recruit out now, and there's only 1 Mountie, so he should be good to go here. The question is how much further in the lead during all that has Yoda gotten, because you see his workers are not going idle now, and there's quite a while that they're, you know, like slapping that Mountie down with their Wookiee claws there. The trooper recruit should be able to deal with this, providing he doesn't lose it. It's already lost about a third of its health. Maybe just a little bit more there. Like 40%. It runs off there, so there's not really much it can do here, but what you'll note is the difference in the farm count right now. So we've got Yoda who's ready to go to T2, so he's got about 150 food lead on RiSk right now. And RiSk is neglecting making his farms a little bit. He's getting really distracted by this Mountie that's just running circles around his base. And it really shows here. I think he's going to want a few more farms. I'm going to opt for the troop center first. On his way to T2, his opponent onto T2 as well. That's interesting. Going for the Nova, but he's going to get a very easy wall off here if he gets to it quick enough. I see RiSk sending the troopers across. Kind of needs to stop him walling off here. Or this lead of the farm counts and onto the Nova, he's going to get to T3 quickly. And he does know what's happening because he can see that with his scout here. But these are trooper recruits and they take a long time to move anywhere because they're just so slow. They're not really going for the workers on the wall or anything like that. You can always try and like Mountie through. Oh, he's going to lose his scout if he doesn't move it. But we can see Yoda getting the second building down here. The scout is going to die. And it looks like RiSk might just be thinking about going to T3 himself because there's not really much you can do with all this walling. It seems like this bit wasn't walled, but he kind of walled it himself. There's still a gap over here as well. But these troopers are just not really doing anything, so. You can see that Yoda's already got enough food to go up to T3. He's just getting that second building now. And then he can use the spaceport to get the 800-200 threshold. And RiSk running a couple of troopers around here. We can maybe get through since Yoda never really finished this bit of the wall. Maybe just assumed that it was walled. But he's on his way to T3 now. Looking at RiSk, he's getting there, but he is a little bit behind. So there should be a window for Yoda to do a bit of damage here. I don't know if he can maybe get air bases down. The power core is in a bit of an awkward spot. I have to whip out the power droid. But I'd say with all these workers on Nova, he's going to go for like a double air base here just to traverse the wall and put the pressure on the fighters. He's going to be about halfway to T3 when RiSk clicks the button, I think. These two troopers just came back, did they? It's never got walled. You can walk through that. Interesting. I think it would have been quite good for RiSk if those two troopers like got into the Nova here. They could have got like 1 or 2 worker kills. So there's going to be a power droid for the air bases. I'm going to speed this up a little bit because I'm getting really bored of hearing these troopers shoot this prefab shelter. And workers pulled. So it'll be 2H, 2 air bases will get dropped here around the power droid. Hits T3. Instantly dropping 1 air base. We can't quite afford the second one. There we go. There's the second one. And you see RiSk immediately making anti-air troopers in preparation for what is pretty obviously going to be coming. It's the most intuitive thing to do in a matchup like this with a wall, and he has seen the amount of workers that were on Nova earlier as well. And probably knows what kind of player Yoda is, someone who definitely favours fighters in air. He's built a gate, he's trying to sort of grab control of these light crossings, these walls. There's someone who really enjoys just constant sort of strike mech harassment. So if he can get control of the walls and kill off the wall, he can start throwing in strikes as he wants and do sort of counter-attacking damage that way, while weathering this storm of the fighters. But he should get at least one airbase. You can see the fighters here. There's a lot of anti-air troopers, and well, one going down immediately. That's really going to take the momentum out of this this rallying of the air. And Yoda's probably just going to want to mass them up till he's got about 5 or so, and then start going around and try to find little holes and cracks in the defences to do some damage that way. Because 1 or 2 fighters is not going to have enough DPS to deal with all these anti-air troopers shooting at them. And RiSk immediately going to drop second command centre here. Yoda not quite gotten himself a new CC yet, though, you know, the options are limited where the hell you can build it. And the fighter are going to push away those troopers from the wall just now, but the anti-air troopers coming forward. And I'm pretty sure RiSk does want to kill this, because he just wants to start throwing strike mechs at his opponent. Little does he know, you can actually just rally them. Like, there's no way this is walled. Like, sure in there, because it never, like, forms a wall. One fish, not 2 fish. This was the pond that everyone should have been playing for. Terrible map. The fighter's going to be going round looking for a bit of harassment at the sort of north part of the bases here. He's gone onto the ore with this command centre, so it's very good for him building turrets as he goes forward, but you know, he's going to have to run his anti-air over here, and he's going to have to garrison these workers very quickly. 1 going down, 2nd going down, 3 going down. Poor reactions there. I think 2 at the most. The 3rd was a bad time. And he's starting to build off anti-air turret here to guarantee the sort of Nova and the carbon, and then the anti-air troopers can sort of shore this up. And you want to get these workers back to work. So, I mean, Yoda's like killed a couple of workers, but he's probably only really evened out the concept that, you know, RiSk has got, you know, an additional command center. It does look like he's trying to just sort of cheese a T4 here. On his way to T4, it's snuck by us, gotten the research center down, so it's going to be a very, very fast T4 here. Sort of guaranteed by the nerf income. And this has been a lot easier for him, just because RiSk's not done any sort of harassment at all yet. So he's been able to cut a lot of corners. Because if there was a few strike mechs sent his way, he would at least have to make a mech destroyer, which would slow down, you know, the infrastructure of all this. And he'd be losing a couple of workers as well. So this is going to feel pretty bad for RiSk here if he just lets this happen. Because it's going to be the same sort of thing he's been dealing with, except that the air's got like regenning health and just doesn't die to anything in T3. So he's really not going to be able to play the game, and the lead that you would get from that is just going to let Yoda, you know, saunter into an actual like army composition like repeater troopers or artillery or something like that and finish him off that way. Or if it got really bad, you could just use bombers as well. So 45 workers to 38, but it's probably not going to matter now that it's T4. So I think that RiSk's just been a bit too passive here. See a lot of fighters out. We should be cutting every corner possible just to get the shield, getting the armor. Probably don't need the armor. I think the armor is just kind of when you're fighting other air, but the shield for sure. Shield and fast fighter. That's all I would get, and then go harass. All you really need. And then what you could do is pump out some artillery to follow that up. Or go for the bombers. And the fighters here hitting fast fighter before the shields come in, but they got this fast fighter DPS now, so they can kill workers and stuff. And RiSk looking like he's trying to get his way up to T4. Again, he's not really built like a lot of farms or anything like that. He's only really had the amount that he built with T2. And he tends to build a little bit too little farms, I would say. suppose you've got the additional cost of, like, he's got 3 command centers which are making workers at a time as well, so it's 150 food per rotation. So he needs a lot more farms to support that. And we can see the air just flying around the base, just killing everything. Like, it's incredibly strong. A couple of anti-air mobiles and some of the troopers sort of take a trade here, maybe kill a couple of them off. He's built some artillery, which the fighters are just going to kill, because they just do a lot of damage to heavy weapons. To everything, really. Even the mech there. Just anything that doesn't really have armor, because of their sort of attack rate and their base damage. How easy it is to get like a lot of them on top of a unit as well. Just a lot of concentrated DPS. And this is pretty much how it's going to be. You just fly around the base and keep your opponent down while you actually catch up in like worker count and stuff, and then you prepare, you know, like a better late game composition. So it could either be like repeater troopers, it could be artillery, it could be bombers. To be honest, maybe just Wookiee Mounties is probably the best one, really. Because it wipes all this like stuff, anti-air mobiles, MDs, etc., and gives you something that can just swarm things, kill buildings really quickly. A lot of its counters you can deal with the air, and the food and nova ratio is very good. The artillery take a little while sort of to get going. He's flying around the base. Maybe be better doing this, just like splitting his air up into 2 control groups and just camping like all the CCs really. RiSk is on his way to T4. Does have enough to get like advanced turrets when he gets there, but during all this time Yoda's going to be getting much further into the game here. Like if we have a look, economy stats have got a lot more food collected, a lot more nova. Yeah, he's really pulled ahead in workers now as well, so it's everything that we sort of talked about there. So 73 to 41 workers. So he's almost got like a double the worker lead now. And then whatever's getting built can get sort of camped with these air. You see RiSk sending some workers over here for some sort of shenanigans. But I mean, this is still not over when he hits T4. He's got to research the advanced turrets as well. It's going to take a little bit. Particularly when he hasn't queued it yet. Homing sensors he's going for. Maybe favouring the fact he's got these anti-air mobiles just now. Just to make sure a lot more of the hits are landing when they fly around his base. It will finish a lot quicker than advanced turret. Advanced turret takes quite a long time. But you can see the heavy artillery upgrade is out for Yoda here. And what you can do is sit the air on top of the artillery and just sort of guarantee them so no like Mounties or anything can deal with them. And they'll trade really well into all types of the mech line. And the greatest thing about the Wookiees is they can get that +2 range on their artillery. So the one from the research centre and the one from the heavy weapons factory. Which is incredibly oppressive. Sort of early T4. It just kind of beats like everything. And the artillery sounding forward hasn't gotten any of the upgrades for the range yet. They'll be fighting up a hill, but the DPS output is going to be very high. See the sort of one-tapping these heavy weapons. And the mech destroyers. And because this army would normally be very weak to Mounties, but with the fighters they do really good damage against troops, so. And they can sort of scout ahead here as well. GG from RiSk there. He just can't really catch up with how far he's falling behind here. What an awful map. Absolutely agree with you there. That is a horrible map. So GG well played to Yoda taking a first game there in this well, best of 3. Or best of 5 rather. Is it? Best of 5? Semi-finals, best of 5. We're going to go into desert here. A lot of lure. Ton of lure here. Some dewbacks, Ronto. No nerf as such, and they're both going to be Republic here. So we've got RiSk down at the bottom as the purple, Yoda in the yellow up here. And there's some EOPs as well. RiSk's base looks kind of crap here. Like this horrible hill at the top. Can at least sort of farm towards here. I wish he'd stop making these food processors and eat his Rontos first. Lazy. This is old man gaming right here, dropping the food processor. The young man luring. Not really much to say, it's just gonna be workers and eating dewbacks. It'll take a while. This is really nice, this. Like the way you can sort of wall here. Because this is just like unharassable. Like farming. It's a nice carbon. Particularly when you close this off with a few houses. Take a while before troopers can stand behind the carbon line here as well. The only fear would really be getting like a turret if you fell behind. Workers, food dropping there just to make sure that the next worker's queued. So RiSk's gonna have to like really just go towards this direction. Because that hill's horrible. And you don't want troopers standing at the top of the hill running down and just sniping your farmers and stuff. Like this is a really bad spawn when you look at it. You probably have to like rally all your troopers to the top of this hill as well, just to make sure you always sort of got control of it. It's quite wide though as well. It's like troopers could come from like any angle. Not a fan. Keep forgetting I've got coffee when I do these. Don't want to get cold. Luring the Ronto here. Early troop center for RiSk here. Because there's no nursery, troop center is probably going to be the third tech building, just to get up to T2. Or second tech building, I can't remember what it is. Is it 2, 3? Ah, God knows. Expert, by the way. Pretty sure it's 3. So you've got food processor, carbon processor, and then troop center. And power core dropping here. Is that right? RiSk's almost losing this worker, this dewback. There's a fooded note and carbon looking a bit better than Yoda's here. Yoda's got an awful lot of carbon built up. Maybe a little bit too late building this troop center and power core. I'll be pumping out those troops just now. It's like he's cut worker production. He's kind of trying to, like, he wants to get up to T2 and he wants to keep making these troopers, you can see. So just try to do both there. And RiSk rallying to the top of that hill. You can tell he's going to be anxious about this hill. Like I would say, Yoda's got quite a nice base and RiSk's just got a very terrible one. It's a horrible map spawn. It happens. It's the pain of The randomly generated maps. However, you know, it's not all lost. The game's still strategic, because even when this happens, you know, Yoda can look at it and think, well, I want to abuse that, and RiSk can look at it and think, well, he's going to want to abuse that, so you can play ahead of it. You know, there are strengths and weaknesses to it, but I would say it does naturally put you at a disadvantage. Just because it kind of controls your behaviour, because even in that sense you could think, well, he's going to play ahead of that as well. You know, maybe I can just sneak around the edges or something like that. I think when you are being controlled by the map, by default, you should probably just get turrets immediately. I don't like how RiSk's sending his troops out across the map and not building turrets. And there's going to be a gap here, isn't there? The elevation. Yeah, they're just going to walk right through. So if he'd at least been building turrets, they'd be about halfway here. And even this, like, you know, rubbish gotcha moment through the wall, he'd be okay. So a lot of workers are just going to die here. He's got some troops to come and, you know, like, deal with this, but there's even a hill that's going to be annoying as well. He gets to the top of the hill at least, so they take less damage, do more damage. But, you know, because he's late to this sort of base trade, he's just walking out troops here. There's a lot more just to defend here for Yoda. So Yoda's just getting free damage here. And it's going to feel very, very bad. But I stand by what I said. If you get turrets as you send your troops out, you'll be okay. So at the very least, they give you a lot more wiggle room to get the troops out and clear this up, and really, they'd just be harassing the side. They wouldn't walk in there into two turrets, they would just die. And he's just sort of testing that there's a hole in the wall. There we go. So when you build any walls like this, you're probably going to want to like test them with your workers there and then. Because this elevation nonsense is just, it's so annoying. It's so incredibly difficult to tell if it's properly walled or not without actually running a unit through it. So he's got a lot of his troopers there in the command center. And now, see when you fall behind like this, they got the hill, and he's just going to control the hill by default because he's going to have the higher like trooper count and stuff. And RiSk's just going to be stuck here in his base, falling further and further behind, as you can tell in the farm count here. You know, just naturally having less workers, having to panic build all these extra troopers and stuff like that. Cut corners, it's just having an impact all over the place. He's got a lot of troopers out here and he feels he can sort of wrestle back control of this hill. He's going to try and take that trade with Yoda, but Yoda very smartly running away. Doesn't want to take the fight. He should just run home, regroup with the rest of his troopers, and then he's probably got to leave. But he walks straight into this carbon and he takes a lot more casualties than he should. And RiSk Avail very compelled just to chase him and get him as far away from his base as possible so that he can have a bit of breathing room and start putting down more farms and such. But little does he know that Yoda's rest of his troops are here waiting for him, and they're going to try and take a trade with him. But RiSk very quickly pulls back, and he'll run back on top of the hill and look to delay things further, because he just needs a lot of time to catch up here. You see that Yoda's doing very good to spend all of his resources here. He's not like floating anything. He's not building troopers, he's getting his war center and his spaceport here. He's probably just going to need a lot more farms just to get up to that sort of 800 food total. Get the war center upgrades as well. And RiSk try to do a bit of a wall off here with his tech builders, mech factory, war center, but is he on a Nova? He is on Nova. So he wouldn't need the spaceport as such. But I think in his instance he probably should have built it, because he's going to have such a hard time getting the farm count up and naturally getting to 800 food before his opponent. He might have to do a bit of spaceport wizardry. But you can see this hill is just so oppressive. Like even now they've got the elevation like bonus. I'm just constantly barreling down. Yoda's base. We should be able to get to 800, 200 very soon. The mech factory now. Just needs 100 food and then he'll be off to T3. And RiSk again is just forced to sort of keep making troopers and try to defend this while his opponent's going to get to T3. And these guys are always just going to get a better trade because of the hill. I think when they stand like here as well, the troopers, I think RiSk's troopers want to run round this way and split up.
Your orders, General.
There's not going to be another hole, is there? Oh, you can stand here. Oh. Oh, that'll be grim. Can you see that? He's looking for a thing, or he's looking for a hole at least.
Clone trooper reporting, General.
He's scouting.
Clone
But
trooper
yeah, that's going to be a
General.
bad spot to put the troops in. Just can shoot at the carbon. It's like one of the only sort of carbons here. They're all going to be very harassable, to be honest. He's going to have to move here. This one looks better on the surface, but like when strike mechs start sitting around the edges of the base here, I'm going to feel really bad. You see, RiSk managed to actually throw his troopers out of his base somehow here. I don't know if he managed to, he must have cleaned up the troopers, I didn't notice that. Oh wait, no, they went here, I forgot about this. But he is going to walk right into the carbon line of, I don't like that he's done this, he should have just brought all the troopers here. Just to get some kills. Gonna get like a couple, but all these strike mechs barreling in on him. He's got a gate and a full wall. He's getting to T3 as well, so he can get like a mech destroyer out. There's a lot of pressure on him here. I think all Yoda really needs to do is get like an airbase and a command center, and then he's going to be firmly in the lead whatever happens here. And these troopers are getting a lot of workers. Much more than you think that they should. Particularly against someone that's got access to 2 mech factories and strike mechs. Some interesting turrets, like... Got a mech destroyer cleaning up troopers here. Rare. And RiSk got a lot of mech destroyers together. But you see Yoda sending workers across the map already. You're gonna get a heavy weapons factory. It's pretty aggro, but he loses the worker there. Yeah, you're gonna have to cancel it. I just think he didn't have like control. That's kind of like something that you should do a little bit later. Like, I think you get 3 command centers down, you know you're ahead of your opponent, you've got that big lead on them, and then you do it, right? Because then you know that economically they just can't handle it. Oh, he loses that mech destroyer. That's a big win for Yoda there. Especially as he sort of switches. This is a bit better, right? You can come back later and then do the forward when he's got these mech destroyers and strike mechs. Gets another CC down. I think he just needs one more CC and then he can really just barrel in on this this aggro play. I don't like what RiSk's doing, just heading across the map with mech destroyers. I think you should have just taken this time to have a breather, get command centers. He's never going to win with this. I think he's anxious to do some sort of counter-attacking, but, you know, if he loses these, it's just over for him. He can't, like, afford to lose 4 mech destroyers. You can see his mech destroyers, and straight, there's one goes down. And he's probably going to get a second one, really, when he's chasing them down here. See how quickly that went low. And Yoda just being more economically well off is going to have better, more center upgrades as well. And so he just loses 2 mech destroyers and for nothing, really. If he wanted to scout, he could use the strike mech over here. And this is a lot of carbon to have to drop every time when he needs to get like command centers and stuff. I see Yoda going for the Mounties, which is really smart here because he's going to feel compelled just to make mech destroyers. And so we're like strike mechs and mechs. I think he should keep the strike. I don't think he needs to harass with these. I don't even know if there's any value in trying to harass with these when the opponent's like walled off like this and got a lot of mech destroyers. These should just come with the mech destroyers, pressure, and then you use the Mounties to take the army by surprise. And then you can follow it up with like 2 heavy weapons factories and just spam artillery. Right, you got these Nova, you got the 2 command centers on the Nova, you can just switch to just spamming artillery. The command center up here, grabbing up some of that land. That's only the first command center to be dropped here for RiSk. So if we have a look at the workers, 51 to 44. That guy maybe should be a bit further ahead with his worker count. I guess maybe underestimating how many workers went down to that trooper counterattack. But like, how much better off would we feel here if there was like 6 mech destroyers, you know? Or it was that 5? That'd be 7. That'd be 8. To be honest, I think if he's going to make all these mech, he should make some troopers, just in case, like Mounties. He's going up to advanced Mounties here. He's going to go back to that spot. That really abusable spot right here behind the carbon. And these guys have to go over here. And the MDs and the Mounties are on the way across the map now. These 2 troopers that RiSk sent out is going to see this army though. He does. I'm pretty sure see him there. And he needs to be careful. What are you walking towards this for? Oh my, RiSk. He got baited. Baited by the strike mechs. He walks forward straight into the mech destroyers and the Mounties, and this is all just going to go down here. Oh, that's a really nice spot. He should just sat there. Had them all like bunched up there. Maybe he's going for the gate when he should just kill the mech destroyers. He's getting a lot more kills than I think he should here. But this should really just be the end of it. There's no way to come back from this. That's why it's important to have a diverse army. Like, you should have had some strike mechs in there and stuff. Just give them a bit more wiggle room with the Mounties. You can micro a little bit better. But just mech destroyers just do not have the DPS outcome. Why do I keep saying outcome? Output for these Mounties. And Yoda going to take game 2 there. So 2-0 to Yoda here. Or 2-0 to Neymar. Get it? And we're going to go into 3rd game here. It's Desert as well. Yep. And Trade Federation mirror this time. Oh. This time Yoda experiencing a bit of the map briefing here. Putting a lot of his Rontos and stuff behind the carbon. Kinda just feels bad just because it's like adding pretty much the length of this carbon onto the journey for these things to get lured. And yeah, RiSk's kind of all in one spot. The hill's a little bit annoying. Feel a little bit fat. They're probably about comparable actually. Just almost. And a few EOPs as well. And no nerf again. So that's interesting. 2 maps in a row like that. And being Trade Federation, can't really do any wall. That's a really nice carbon right up against the edge of the map. That's healthy looking as well. Liking that carb. RiSk's not too bad here. Another hill being ominous. But the rest of it does seem to be quite decent flatlands. Not really too much of a hill, and he won't really worry about it too much because he can sort of go towards the edge of the map here. We'll see how this turns out. Jubat gets lured, 2nd one. And Yoda just going to opt for the food processor here. Can't be bothered luring these things around the edge of the carbon. Feels a little bit better to do that just because you've got all these EOPs to eat as well, so sort of a no-brainer in this situation really. You kind of only really feel the repercussions of this if it was like a nerf map when your opponent mounted you. Otherwise there's not really any sort of window you get punished for dropping the carbon on that. It can technically mean as we get a little bit later in, there's a tiny like trooper window maybe, where you just like got your 100 carbon behind, but I think it'll be fine. and then after that point you're just ahead because you get all the AOPs. RiSk's AOPs are like sort of here and then here, feels a bit crap. And then here, so it's kind of a lot more AOPs here for Yoda, to be honest. It's like 3 to what, 6? 7 AOPs. It's like 560 extra food. Oh wait, no, it's way more than that. No, yeah. I'm doing the difference. It's like 560 extra food. Oh dear. Save him. So troop center, power core almost down. And almost the same for Yoda here. I think RiSk maybe like 100 food ahead at the moment. Maybe a little bit more. So easy to just do this. Oh. Well. Maybe a bit slow to get the carbon going here. There's actually a lot of workers on carbon here actually. Maybe that's what it is. Just done a bit better of a balance Yoda here. A little bit slower to get up to that food count, but it's because these guys have to like do it manually here, right? Can't just like garrison, send them back to work. You got to click on it and then click back on the rondo. I think all in all though it's going to be a little bit even. But let's see how it reflects in the old troopers. Both troop centers are finished a little bit quicker here for Yoda. RiSk has got these up now though, rallying onto the top of this hill. Yoda does have the second carbon processor, so the workers are going to be a bit more efficient. So he's just maybe micro these a little bit. Just to stop them bumping and getting going and like accidentally idle and everything. And we're soon going to reach that point where this like extra food from these AOPs is going to feel really good. RiSk hasn't really gotten the AOPs at all, just because they're so out of the way here. And he's just going to have to straight farm. So the question is, if all the carbon that's going to be saved by eating these AOPs, it might not even matter in this instance because it's just collided with those troops. One of them got stuck fighting this crate dragon, so Yoda's already ahead in troops just by that. But what we're going to say is if all the carbon that's saved here, but having a second carbon processor really allows him to freely make a lot more troops and keep his worker production going and getting a sort of economic lead that way. But alas, you know, we've got 5 troopers going down for like 1 here, so I think Yoda very much going to be in the lead here with his trooper count. And making a turret here. Reluctant to go for the second turret. And using the light walls, both players, just to wall off a little bit. It's not really as potent as the mighty prefab shelter, but you know, it'll have to do here. And this hill going to kick into motion now that RiSk has sort of fallen behind his trooper count a bit. As you can see, as Yoda gets here, they've got about the same amount, but you know, RiSk has a defender's advantage here, so he should really have more. But because he's traded 5 for 1 over here, he is behind in trooper count. So Yoda needs much less farms at the moment. Because he's still eating Rontos, because they've had all like these 7 AOPs basically, so it's like, well, like 900 food or something. So Yoda running around, scouting around here, and the troops just trying to get as much shots as possible. These 3 are going to cut it off a little bit though. Yoda going to lose a couple of troops here. I actually stopped just to fight, bugged out a little bit there maybe, or he tried to take the trade. I would believe both in that instance. That's quite a bad moment. And Scout just keeping an eye on things, but Yoda definitely going to feel that he wants these double turrets here. A little bit badly spaced because I don't think that this covers the right hand side, and this covers the left hand side. There's this little hill to sit on top of, but there's a lot of troops here from RiSk, and he does quickly get on top of the hill before he takes this trade, and then he patrols in, and you're going to feel he wants back. He patrols back the way though, and a lot of these guys have walked sort of down the hill here, and you're going to win that trade there, just with the reinforcing elements, and I think they just sort of better patrol there, with less of the lower ground elevation playing into it. I also think that might have been a bit of flank formation versus line formation as well, because these guys underperformed heavily. And the troops here assembling once again at the top of the hill. And both players just adding on farms as they can, working towards like a war centre and getting the upgrades for the troops. Just everything that we talked about in the T2 trooping guide. If you haven't checked that out, you can find that on the channel. Pretty good walling here for Yoda now. This is just the entrance point to his base. It's a hill and he's got control of it. But it's not so bad a hill that when you lose control it feels horrible. Oh, and RiSk is gonna... Yeah, that's a bad patrol. He's gonna lose this fight, I think. Tried a little bit better than I thought he would. Both got +1 weapons at the moment. Don't have the armor yet. Both got the armor now. Oh, wait, actually, RiSk hasn't got the armor yet. Not researching it. So there's an upgrade lead for Yoda here. And spaceport going down. A lot of farms now. Could be thinking about T3 very soonish. Looks like he's just done a bit of spaceport there. You saw the Nova shoot up to 600 and then the food shoot up. And off to T3 he is. And there's sort of 400 or so food down here. They're going to take another trade. Again, hill versus low ground. Does he get armor? Doesn't have armor yet either. And this should feel pretty good for Yoda, just trading like this in the middle of the map when he's on his way to T3 and his opponent isn't. These troops are going to come in and harass a little bit here though. This should be a bit of a red flag to RiSk that there's no troops actually meeting him here. That a lot of corners are being cut. He's just making the troops now. I think the RiSk is thinking about T3 dropping a spaceport now. Got his 2 buildings. And, you know, naturally actually hits the 800 there. You see the spaceport letting Yoda go up a lot quicker. And now RiSk gonna have to play on the defensive here, and it's gonna feel a little bit bad as TF just because the map's so open and you can't like put prefabs in the gaps and stuff. Making a little gate here. And drop some light wall in preparation, but those troopers that Yoda made to defend himself are now heading their way across to RiSk. Wants to sort of wall up the top here, but the strike mech is going to be here already. It shouldn't be too long for him to get to T3 here. Almost working out in his favour that these units going past the worker who's trying to wall. RiSk is going to maybe wall behind him. It loses these workers on the Nova. Strike mech's getting into an advantageous position here. There they are. There's double mech factory, gonna make strike mechs and mech destroyers, so the strike mechs to help clean up these troopers and then to go in the counter attack as well once he cleans this up. Not quite finished this wall up here. A few of these strike mechs actually just doing nothing over here on the right hand side when they could be getting some damage in on the farms. It really be at Yoda's advantage to pressure this right now while he's got the distraction with the strike mechs down here. He's going to kind of lose momentum, just pulling everything back, I think. New command center. Must be another command center. Oh, carbon. And CC for RiSk here. Double mech factory. Pumping out a lot of mechs. Unfortunately, very hard to harass this position just directly. The mech destroyers and the strike mechs here, just cleaning up the 2 strike mechs that RiSk sent across. Just gonna have to be a bit more crafty with the strike mechs and put them around the back, the carbon and stuff. Take advantage of these light walls to wall out the mech destroyers. But Yoda being ahead, he's just going to continue to just have direct assaults here on RiSk as he makes these 4 mech destroyers, the 5 strike mechs, and heads his way towards RiSk now. And RiSk seeing this will have to pull these things back. He may have to have some idle workers here. He's going to lose a couple. Needs to react, doesn't want to lose these units. And worst of all, they're going to be sitting at the top of this hill. Oh no. Losing the mech destroyer there. I feel really bad. It's going to take him even longer to get up to a rival in count. And, you know, it is... You know, Yoda can actually rally more mech destroyers as well. And so I keep this position. And then this could transform itself into some sort of fortress play here at the top of the hill. And, you know, that's going to be a good amount of the map getting walled out here. But Yoda is actually backing off rather than keeping this position. He's just finding it a little bit too taxing to babysit these units and do all the macro at home. See, there's having to be some farms placed and everything like that. And RiSk, on the other hand, getting a lot of breathing room now. Just to build his mech count back up. I think it would be in Yoda's best interest to just do what he did last time with the Mounties. Because with this sort of push, he's baited his opponent into making tons of mech destroyers without really strike mechs. And maybe he can just swarm them again with the Mounties. TF get decent Mounties. These 2 strike mechs looking for an angle around the back. You're repairing the mechs here. Building a lot of farms. Tons of farms. They're getting a strong food eco here. And he's going to come in again towards this forward-facing command center. Should catch a few workers. RiSk does have a lot more mech destroyers now. Has a little bit less armor, but it has all the rest of the upgrades. Should we try to trap this army and just get some favourable shots off? Go for the mech destroyers first. A flank formation in here. Gets 2 very nice volleys off there. Some big hits. But I think he is falling behind Yoda here. Just got this really good like farm core here, dropping command centers and just really booming behind this pressure. So like a 26 worker lead for Yoda now. What is this carbon processor? And let's try to fan out here with like walls and command centers. I think the light walls is a sort of tendrils at the edges of the map, the outskirts, just to see if any strike mechs come his way. He's got back control of this hill. I don't like this light wall though. Let's just delete this, just so you can walk back and forth this way, because walking down this way feels crap. It's not even walled anyway. Some strike mechs here are going to show up on the old radar, I think. Or maybe not yet. If they fire, they would. They're just sort of sitting there, chilling. Not sure what Yoda's up to right now. Maybe on his way to T4. Yeah. So now he's just going to sit back and wait for his upgrades. Just doesn't want to risk it. Versus RiSk. Crate Dragon just bullying this mech destroyer for some reason. But he is building this an actual strong wall here, a medium wall. He doesn't want these strike mechs getting behind his eco again. He's got a mech destroyer waiting in case that happens as well. Not quite finished off the wall yet as one of the strike mechs slides behind. Bringing some workers forward, maybe going to look to build a forward, but RiSk is going to meet him out in the middle of the map. And unfortunately for RiSk, the workers are taking a lot of the shots here from the mech destroyers, and this is going to give Yoda the edge in this fight. Almost circumstantial, not even like intended. He does make a few good trades there at the end of it, but yeah, that's kind of rough, and it is going to let Yoda get this sort of centre of the map, and he cancels the fortress, and he's going to be a bit more ambitious with the fortress, it seems. He thinks because he's got this big count on the mech destroyers, he can go further forward. Gonna drop a sentry post maybe so he can see up the hill and see the army ahead of time, and then he can make a bit better decisions with where he moves the army. And he's just gonna charge right in, and he uses the workers again, almost to his advantage there. And they got tanks on the shots. RiSk seems to be bringing a few workers forward as well, maybe just to repair there, but he has to use them to tank some shots. And it's really on both players to make sure that they absolutely babysit the mech destroyers here and they shoot the other mechs. And the TF1s do like an extra 10 damage to like mechs as well. Their mech destroyers due to some weird bug that never really got fixed and kind of just left it in because TF suck. But he's going to take the hill. Quick to get the heavy mech destroyer upgrade. And a fortress and forward mech factory and a little shield here. It's a very safe shield that he's built there because he's kind of really just winning the fight anyway. Could have been a bit more ambitious with the shield and got it on top of this hill, and then that would be, you know, really horrible for RiSk. He's sort of gonna have to like stand off against this position and sort of split the map like this, whereas Yoda's gonna have access to all this extra Nova piles, ore piles, etc. And the cannons are going to be in a really protected position here. And, you know, a lot of the productions here as well. Power core, mech factories, this command center. Losing this command center is a huge blow to RiSk's economy. And he's really got a large deficit here to try and come back from. See how well protected the cannon is when it's going to shoot this command center. Well, it shoots the shield generator. What, from there? Holy. Elevation. Very deceptive. Wow. That's some crazy range. I feel like it could just barely reach the corner of it. So that feels horrible. And as these buildings get killed off as well, it's just going to be like a lot better of a position. The shield generator just start covering everything on this hill. RiSk repairing the command center just to sort of maybe keep him there longer, shooting at it longer. Because he needs to buy time. He gets the T4, he needs to get some upgrades, he needs to get more mech destroyers out, he needs to get more mech factories built. He's got the shield generator. Unfortunately, a lot of buildings in the shield generator. Like block, you see how the horrible positioning for the army there. And with the upgrades, I think even though there's shields here covering the army, it's just not enough. In a moment, there's going to be a new shield generator for Yoda here with his units. And he moves further and further into RiSk space here, killing off as many units as possible. You know, it's going to be very taxing to like keep building up the eco, get all the upgrades, babysit the units and stuff. There's a lot of room for error here for RiSk. Or maybe a lot of room to make errors would be a better way to put that. A lot of opportunity to make errors, rather. I feel like room for error means you can get away with it, right? You can get away with it, absolutely not. He's suffering here. And assault mech as well. a lot of buffer units for it, and it's got this great bonus damages to pretty much like everything. The only thing Yoda's missing really here is, I don't remember these forward food processes, but it'd be better to get on all this like Nova and Ore and stuff. Strike Mech just waiting for him. Then you could really spam these like assault mechs with all that extra Nova. And it would help building all the shield generators as well if he's grabbing up these ores and Novas. But it might not matter in the end here, as he's just sort of spawn camping a lot of these mech destroyers, and a new shield coming up as he gets in here, and GG from RiSk is just going to have to call it there, and Yoda going to take this series 3-0. So Yoda wins that series, but I'm pretty sure that he sort of dropped out of playing the finals for whatever reason, so I think that RiSk is going to be playing in his stead, despite that. So GG, well played to both players there. Some rough map spawns, to be honest, and you know, a few rough outcomes, particularly the elevation of the wall. You know, that's a bit of a gotcha moment, but there's some good games there, and it's nice to cover some you know, actual like inter-game play as well. See, you know, things being done right. So thanks for that, guys, and if you like the content, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you want to get involved in the GBG community, you can join the GBG Discord, which you'll find in the description down below. That's just where everyone keeps up to date and things, and organises these little like sort of in-house tournaments and stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.